Greetings of the day, everyone. I am privileged to welcome you all into the first children edition of Orange City Literature Festival, organized by SJ Knowledge Foundation in association with GH Rajasthan University, powered by Rajasthan Groups of Institutions. The motive behind the fest is to explore the ways that should help students develop emotional intelligence. Stories have power to promote emotional and moral development. The fest will enable them to develop into caring, intelligent, and friendly people. Our session of the sun is all about such stories. We all love mysteries, and vacations are going on. What's there in the imagination and mysterious characters that sometimes we read or came across? Mr. Tino de Sa will decode many things in his session of summer vacations, mysteries, and more in conversation with Ms. Sutapa Basu. Now, I would like to welcome today's speaker, Mr. Tino de Sa, along with the moderator, Ms. Sutapa Basu. Tino de Sa. Tino de Sa sir grew up 1,000 miles away from his ancestral island village of Diwar, Goa, in a dusty little central Indian railway town of Bhusawal, where his father ran a picture house and off and on was a mayor. He took degrees at St. Xavier's College in Mumbai and then as a Mason Fellow at Harvard in the USA. He was selected to the IAS services in 1980. His varied assignments included a stint with the United Nations and culminated in his being one of the longest serving chief secretaries of Madhya Pradesh. Tino de Sa has won twice the first prize in the Write India National Short Story Competition in season 2 as well as in season 3. He is the author of 3 books, 2 collections of short stories, and a novel for young reader. I welcome you in the children's edition of Orange Literature City Festival, sir. To
Thank you.
moderate this session, we have with us Ms. Sutapa Basu, ma'am. Sutapa Basu is the author of Padmavati, The Queen Tells Her Own Story, which was released by Readomania in 2017. The Legend of Genghis Khan and The Curse of Nadir Shah. She won the Arthur Award for Best Fiction in 2019 by Times of India and JK Paper for her book The Curse of Nadir Shah. She has authored the psychological thriller Dangle, which was released by Readomania in the year 2016. That was nominated for the Anupam Kher Award for debut novels in 2017. She is the 2016 first prize winner of the Times of India Write India campaign. Her short stories have appeared in anthologies, Crossed and Noted, and Defined Dreams. When They Spoke and Write India Stories, her poems have appeared in Kafiana and The Dawn Beyond Waste. I once again welcome you both in this children's edition of Orange City Literature Festival. Now, I would like to hand over the session to Ms. Sutapa Basu, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Spash. And a big welcome to everyone to the Orange City Literature Festival on Children's Literature. And I am so happy to welcome Tino de Sa to this discussion. Tino, your book, The Curious Case of Nandiko Nawab, has been listed as the best 10 books on children's literature in 2021 by the Times of India, written by Indian authors, which is wow to be on that list.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, your book, The Curious Case of Nandiko Nawab, is an absolute delight to read. And I'm sure a lot of children have read it and they've got back to you, as to what they think about it. We would love to hear what they said about the book.
Thank you, Shutapa. Thank you so much. As an author yourself, you know that feedback is something so important. And when it's complimentary, it's great. And even when it's not complimentary, it's so useful. But since you've asked this, I'll read out 2 or 3 comments that I received. One young girl sent me a message saying, "I now believe that adventure can happen to me too." A young boy messaged me saying, he emailed me, so fascinating was the story that I met the Nawab in a dream I had last night, and he invited me also to Nandiko.
Wow.
Wow. And one WhatsApp message I received from a girl in Bhopal said, "Nick, Tara, Peak, Mike, and Z are now among my BFFs," which I had to check up to find out was the best friends forever. So yeah, So comments have been coming in from children, and they are always so nice to come in. Yeah.
And this is the book for everyone. All those children out there, go ahead and get it so that all the children can become your best friends as well. Okay. Now, tell me first, are there really places called Banipur and Nandikot?
No, there aren't places called Banpuri and Nandikot. The names I had to cook up, and then I had to check. Once I got some name and I checked on Google and found it was actually a place. So these two I had to actually cook up the names. But Banpuri is actually based on a very real town called Bhusawal, where I grew up. So it is a railway town. It has a river that runs through it, the river Tapti. It has an army unit nearby, like in the book. The main mode of traveling used to be cycle in those days because it was a Mofassal town. So yeah, so Banpuri is very much based on a real town in central India. Nandikot doesn't figure as the details of Nandikot in this particular novel. It may in a future one. But yeah, Banpuri is based on a real town in central India.
So Bhusawal is Madhya Pradesh, am I right?
No, actually it's on the border of Madhya Pradesh, but Bhusawal is in Maharashtra. It's in Jalgaon district of Maharashtra. Yes. It's borders Burhanpur and other places in Madhya Pradesh, but it's in Maharashtra. It's a town I grew up in, a big railway town with an army center nearby.
Oh, okay. That was good to know because I always thought it was in Madhya Pradesh, but okay, it's on the border between Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh.
Yeah.
Lovely. Now, Ruskin Bond has commented for this book, The Curious Case of Nandikot Nawab, that it's a book of non-stop action. Now, was it difficult to plan all those actions and make sure that each one led to the next? They should be sequential. So how easy or difficult was that?
Well, first, Shritapa, let me say that I'm really grateful to Ruskin Bond for having taken the time off to, go through the manuscript because he is such a busy person and he has so many other things to do. But it was really very kind of him to, go through the manuscript and then give that beautiful comment. Yes, I did try to create non-stop action because young readers like that. They want action. I won't say it was really very difficult. What I did was really, I knew more or less the beginning of the story and the end of the story when I began writing it. All the incidents I didn't know. But when I began writing it, I allowed things to happen like I thought they could realistically happen to me, or I would like to happen to me as a child, as a young person. And I tried to bring in that action one after the other. And then when sometimes I could think of an incident that I went back and fit it in over there. But the idea was that every one of the 16 chapters should have some interesting action going on because young readers require that for them to persist in a book. So each chapter has some action going on, which is trying to be depicted with the illustrations.
Yes. The beautiful illustrations and the actions actually make it very exciting. So every chapter becomes exciting for the reader.
Yeah.
There's an action, right? Is that the reason that you've used Kargil War as a backdrop for the story?
No. Actually, the reason for using Kargil was there were two other reasons. For one thing is, you see, this particular story does not work if the young people had mobiles like they do today. You see, because then the mystery would have moved in a different direction. So I had to fix the story in a pre-mobile time. Oh. So that was one reason why I chose the Kargil War, and the second was to ground the story in reality. Because as you know, there's a plot, not the plot of the book, but there's a plot which the children uncover which the children uncover. And that plot, in order to make it real, it had to be grounded in reality. And the Kargil War is something that, children know about, everybody knows about. So by linking it to that, I was able to make the story a little more real. So yeah, that was the reason.
It basically gave an authenticity to the story, and maybe children who would be reading it would probably also know about the Kargil War, because even if it happened when they were not very, not as old as this, but still they would have heard about it or even read about it.
And if the idea comes to them, why didn't they use a mobile? Then they would be able to reason out, yes, at that time there were no mobiles. So
no mobiles.
yeah.
To set the period, basically the time.
Yes.
Now, often you have that one person, one child who has written to you saying that I'm sure I can have adventures like this. So often, and we see that in your book, that adults discuss things in front of children without noticing that they are also listening. So if the children are smart, if they listen very carefully, is it possible that they can also solve mysteries just like the 5 children in your book too?
Absolutely, Shutapa. Children can, because, I find children are more perceptive and children can make those out-of-the-box connections, which sometimes adults don't, because we as adults, think in a certain way, and we've got our own prejudices and our own feelings, and but children are uncluttered by all these preconceived notions, and so children can make out-of-the-box connections, which I have actually shown in the novel itself. And I think children today, young readers who are listening to this program, they also can participate in mystery solving, by actually making these connections, using their logic and thinking out of the box. Absolutely. And I think children do that a great deal. Children do that.
So what you're saying is, adventures are just around the corner. We have to just go out and search for them, right?
100%. Adventures come to those who welcome them. You see, I feel, and an adventure doesn't always have to be a great adventure, a big adventure. It can be a small adventure, something small like, the neighbor's cat has gone missing. Or why did the courier man not turn up in spite of him ringing up and saying that he was coming? So these can be the starting point for adventures, and children can actually play this game. If children get together and say, well, see, this thing has happened. Mrs. Sharma's cat is missing. She last saw it last night. Now, what could happen? What could have happened? And by putting their brains together, by brainstorming, by coming up with different reasons, groups of children can come up with different explanations, and then each child comes up with an explanation, but they should be asked to prove. You just can't say an alien came and picked up the cat. You have to be able to prove. Did you see a flying saucer last night? That kind of thing. Whatever, however fantastical one's explanation may be, but if there is a reasoning to it, it becomes interesting. So really, I think adventure can come, and sometimes the entire adventure may really be real. So if children are willing to welcome adventure, if you have an open mind to this, I think that adventure can happen to all of us, and especially during the holidays.
So I hope teachers and parents are listening to this, because what Tino just said is to make the critical thinking and creativity of children evolve through, thinking about this, sitting down, finding out what really happened and making a list maybe of possibilities, and then proving, whether it is possible or not. So all this actually helps your children to become 21st century kids. Okay. Now, as the story unfolds, certain ideas or expressions are explained through one of the children, in the group. So do you think these informative nuggets were necessary? Because after all, the story is a thriller. Yes. What is your opinion?
See, Shutapa, I put myself in the position of a reader when I was younger, what I looked for. And even now, for that matter, even now, I love getting interesting little pieces of information about the places that I'm reading about. Provided, of course, the book doesn't read like a textbook, because I haven't opened a novel to read it like a textbook. You see, the thing is to bring in this information from in a subtle way, and also the information is not, at least I think, the information is not just some kind of out of the blue. It is information that the reader would require in order to better envision the plot and understand the nuances of the plot. Because if they don't understand, why this is happening. Now, for example, the little thing about the special petroleum depot that I explained. Now, it's important because why? If the reader does not know the importance of the special petroleum depot, then any harm coming to it would not be such a big thing. I don't want to give away the plot, but anything. Or sometimes information is given to be able to understand other nuances of that character who's come in, or to give an idea of the entire setting. So that's how I tried to put in the information, but you're absolutely right. Nobody wants to read a book only for information, because then they can study, their textbooks. It is the plot and the thrill of the plot that has to be predominant, and the other things are just little, background and supports to the whole story.
You just spoke about reading yourself. So tell me something. Do you think that the reading habits and preferences of children in the past, when both of us were children, is different from the children today? Because children have more options today. There is screen time. They can go to a movie or whatever. So do you think there's been a change over time?
Yes, Shatapa, there has been a change. There has been a change among children, and I think there's been a change among adults. There's been a change among me, there's a change for me too. Reading has come down, I feel, considerably, because there's so much competition. Exactly as you mention it, there are Netflix, there are video games, there are so many other things. And so there is competition to reading. Reading has come down. But let me say, it is extremely important for people to read more if they want to develop their own imaginations. See, there's a difference, because when you read something, you have got to picture it in your mind. And each one of us, when we read, we picture it a little differently. So we are actually making a movie for ourselves in our mind. But if you see a movie, it's fascinating. I love movies myself, but the imagination has already been done by the director of the film, by the photographer, and it's all on a plate. And what you see and what I see is the same thing. So I found that while I enjoy films very much, if I don't read enough, my own writing also comes down. And if I really find that I need to write something, then that means it's time for me to pick up a book and read. And when you read, you write. So while, yes, habits have changed, and there's nothing wrong with films, there's nothing wrong with video games, but I would still urge children to continue to open books, more books, because there is as exciting a world in books as there are in films. I'm not saying stop seeing films, no, but do also continue reading.
And that brings me to another very important question, Tino. I mean, we know Ruskin Bond and we know the Swami series by R.K. Narayan and all, but still, don't you think that more Indian writers should write more children's books?
Absolutely.
Something like the kind of series that we used to read over the 5 Findouters, Enid Blyton, or the Secret Seven. So shouldn't we have series like that, and the children can get hooked to that? I think.
I agree with you. There should be more writing, because children then will have greater choice. And I think it's a kind of a chicken and egg situation. People say they don't write for children because children's books are not bought in adequate numbers. And if more children buy books, then more authors will write more books. So it's a kind of a relationship between authors and children. And I think that actually teachers have a role to play in this also. Parents have a role to play when they realize that books are, in fact, when we were young, the kind of presents I looked forward to at, for my birthday, for Christmas, for Diwali, were things like books. If people give books, I mean, they're so beautiful to actually own a book too. So if teachers and parents can realize this, that that these are among very precious gifts that you can give children, I think children too will get hooked onto books, and the more children read, the more people will write for children.
Well, right.
So,
Yeah. We spoke just now about how reading has changed, okay, since we were children, and now have vacations also changed?
I think they have. I mean, I think you see, vacations were simpler when we were young. We just went off to some place out, if we were going out from that place, and we were there for about 3 weeks or 4 weeks, right through summer, whatever. Things have become more, I would say, planned now. The parents plan out a vacation. They are full of action, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing in one way, but also it has its own drawbacks. The drawback is that the adults also get very much involved in in the vacation. So children do get time with their parents, yes, but sometimes they require time off also to create their own mysteries and their own adventures for themselves, you see. So though the nature of vacations has changed over the years, if children are able to take out time for themselves, or if adults realize that children require that time for themselves, perhaps they would be able to also have time to seek mystery in the holidays that are that are there for them.
So I'll just go on to the next question. I'm sure, Tino, that this book has a lot from your own life, lots of snippets. So why don't you tell us what is there in this book which is actually from your real life?
Shudapa, like I was telling you, Banpuri is based on the town that I grew up in. So yeah, so actually everything, the town, the railway colony, the cycling, the river, including its crocodiles, and the army unit nearby. Everything actually is little snippets from my own childhood. Everything but the Nawab. But yeah. But the Nawab comes a little later on, because when I worked, and I spent many of my working years in the IAS in Madhya Pradesh, because that was the cadre I belonged to. And Madhya Pradesh is also a state of great mystery, with all little Rajas and Nawabs all around the place. So the inspiration for the Nawab came from Madhya Pradesh, which came a little later in life, not when I was a child. But the rest of the whole setting was from Bhusawal, and really was the kind of school time that I had, even when I was young. And we made vacations for ourselves. So yeah.
You also went cycling all over Bhusawal, did you?
Absolutely, all over Bhusawal, and wherever we went. I mean, even when we went for holidays to Igatpuri, like where I set the school of these children, who knows, future mysteries may come from there. There too, we went around cycling, went pigeon shooting into the fields, and yeah, that was that was the childhood one had.
Yeah, absolutely. So your real name, Tino, is Anthony de Sa, right?
Yes.
But you write under this pen name, Tino. Why?
Yes. Well, actually, Tino, before it became my pen name, was actually my pet name. But it was the name everyone called me. Everyone called me in school, in my family, friends. In fact, till I went till I got into service, into the IAS. I only responded to the name Tino. I mean, if people said Anthony, I may not have even turned around. Anthony was only the name that I wrote, for my certificates and my examinations. So I was always called Tino. But of course, once I got into service, into government service, and I began writing, and then I had to keep my official life separate from my life as an author. So whenever I wrote official things, or I wrote a research article or a document or something, it was always under the name of Tino de Sa. But when I wrote fiction, when I wrote for myself and about things I enjoyed, it was Tino de Sa. So yeah, so then Tino de Sa became my pet name, or my pen name, also my nom de plume, and that is the name that I write by now. All the middles that I wrote in the Times of India were also Tino de Sa, and the books that have been published have been under the name Tino de Sa.
So, we also know you as Tino, and we love
Absolutely,
to know you as
yes. Tino. Continue calling me Tino, because that's the name I like. Yeah.
So, as I think the last question of the session is that, are you writing more adventure books with these 5 children?
Now that is something that I would indeed. I am writing more adventures because Nick and Tara and Teek and Mike and Z want more adventures. More adventures are coming their way. Now, but what I want to do is, I want to actually, through this, I have certain ideas in my mind where the other adventures are not going to be set in Banpuri. They will be set in 2 other places. But I actually want to say to the children who are watching this program, please email me and tell me what you would like future adventures to be about, what you would like these 5 children to do, where you would like to have these stories set, what you would like them to solve. And I promise you one thing, if your idea is picked up, I'll give you my email address, and if I pick up your idea, however small it may be as small as, I would like one character to have this name. And if I choose that, if I think it fits in, or I would like, you need not tell me the whole plot. No, that's my job. I'll do that. But you tell me what you like, what you would like to see in that, or would you like them to, what kind of holiday you would like them to have, where, whatever you like. And if your idea is picked up and it figures in a book, I promise you that your name will come in the acknowledgements, and I will acknowledge your suggestion in creating that story. So please do write to me. Right? My email address is easy to remember for you. It is tinodesa@gmail.com. TINODESA. The same name that you find on the books, but without any spaces between them. tinodesa@gmail.com. Write in with any ideas, with what you like, and if I pick that up, your name will appear in the acknowledgements in that book.
Fantastic. I don't think any author ever gives such an offer. So all of you, first pick up the book, read it, and then get your ideas and email Tino, right?
Absolutely.
I'm also going to email you, Tino, with my ideas.
Absolutely, Shutapa.
It's wonderful to discuss your book with you, Tino, and I'm very sure the audience also has enjoyed listening to you. Everyone out there, don't forget to pick up and read this fantastic book by Tino, and of course, don't forget to send him your ideas. And now I'll just hand it over back to Sparsh.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a wonderful session with you, sir and ma'am. So, thank you so much. It was just awesome being part of this session. It feels a great pleasure to read your book. Our audience can please get their copy of the book from the links provided in the description, or visit any crossword store near their city. The session was supported by Readomania publication. You can get your copy from Readomania website as well. A must-read book for this generation today. Wish you a happy reading, friends. I once again thank you, Sutapa ma'am.
Thank you, Sparsh. Thank you.
And thank you, Shutapa. Thank you, Sparsh. And thank you, Shutapa, for this wonderful session.
and the audience in the system. Get ready for the quiz based on the session and visit www.oclf.com to participate and win exciting gifts and hampers. A gigantic Orange City Literature Festival will be back in November 2022 in Nagpur, the city of oranges. Get ready for the physical fest in the coming winter, attending awesome sessions and interacting with your favorite author. Keep following us for the updates of the Festival of Words. Thank you all.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.